Ferrari sells fewer than 14,000 cars a year. Toyota sells millions. Volkswagen sells millions. Ford sells millions. But here's the part that makes no sense. Ferrari, a company that sells fewer cars in a year than Toyota sells in a single day, is worth more than Volkswagen, more than BMW, and more than Ford. How does that happen? How does a tiny luxury car company become one of the most valuable car brands on earth by refusing to sell more cars? Because Ferrari doesn't sell transportation. Ferrari sells permission. Permission to enter a club most people will never be allowed into. And the crazier part? That was the plan from the very beginning. 1947, Maranello, Italy. A small factory, a handful of employees. One obsessive man named Enzo Ferrari. He wasn't trying to build a normal car company. He was trying to win races. That's it. The road cars were almost a side hustle. Enzo would build beautiful, loud, insanely expensive machines, sell them to wealthy clients, and use that money to fund the racing team. But then, something strange started happening. The same kind of people kept showing up. Industrialists, celebrities, royals, movie stars. They weren't just buying the car because it was fast. They were buying it because it made them feel connected to the racing team, like they were buying a piece of victory. And Enzo noticed something most companies still don't understand. The more he made people wait, the more they wanted it. The harder it was to get, the more valuable it became. A normal company sees demand and thinks, great, build more. Enzo saw demand and thought, no, build less. Because if everyone can have it, it's just a car. But if only the chosen few can have it, it becomes Ferrari. Here's what Enzo figured out. Luxury is not just about the product. Luxury is about the gap between people who want it and people who can actually get it. That gap is where the value lives. So Ferrari became a company built on rejection. You don't just walk into a showroom and buy the rarest Ferrari. You build a relationship. You buy the normal models first. You maintain them properly. You show up to events. You prove you're not just some guy with money, because money alone isn't enough. And that is the genius. A normal car company treats every customer like a sale. Ferrari treats every customer like an audition. You want the limited model? Maybe. You want the special allocation? Maybe. You want the car everyone else is begging for? First, Ferrari has to decide if you deserve it. And that sounds insane.
What?
Because in almost every other business, rejecting customers is suicide.
He just said it. He's the boss.
But in Ferrari's business, rejection is marketing. Every no makes the yes feel more powerful. Every person who gets turned away makes the approved buyer feel like they won something. And the best example of this happened in 1963. Ford wanted to buy Ferrari, not partner with them, not invest in them, buy the whole company. At the time, Ford was massive, American, corporate, industrial. Ferrari was tiny by comparison. So Ford sends executives to Italy, lawyers, contracts, pages and pages of paperwork. The deal is almost done, and then Enzo reads the fine print. Ford would control the racing budget. Ford would decide where Ferrari could race. Ford would decide how Enzo's cars competed, and Enzo kills the deal. Ford is humiliated. Henry Ford II gets so angry that he launches an entire revenge project. Build a car that can beat Ferrari at Le Mans. That car becomes the Ford GT40. And eventually, Ford does beat Ferrari. But here's the important part. Even when Ferrari lost the race, they won the myth. Because the story wasn't Ford beat another car company. The story was a giant American corporation needed to spend a fortune just to defeat one stubborn Italian man. Now let's talk numbers, because this is where Ferrari stops being emotional and starts being terrifying as a business. In 2025, Ferrari shipped just 13,640 cars. That is nothing. Volkswagen Group delivered millions of vehicles that year. Toyota is in a completely different universe of volume, but Ferrari's revenue was over 7.1 billion euros. Its operating margin was 29.5%. Its EBITDA margin was almost 39%. That is not normal for a car company. Mass market automakers fight for volume. They battle discounts, suppliers, recalls, financing deals, dealership pressure, and thin margins. Ferrari doesn't play that game because Ferrari doesn't need to move metal. Ferrari moves desire. A normal car company asks, how do we make this cheaper? Ferrari asks, how do we make this feel impossible to replace? And that changes everything. The paint? Extra. The stitching? Extra. Carbon fiber? Extra. A custom interior? Extra. A color nobody else has? Extra. Ferrari's Ferrari's personalization is not just a feature, it's a psychological weapon. The customer is not simply buying a car, they are helping create their Ferrari. And once someone has spent months designing a personal machine with Ferrari, price becomes weirdly secondary. At that level, the question is not, is it worth the money? The question is, can anyone else have the same one? And the answer is no. That's how Ferrari sells fewer cars and still prints money. But Ferrari takes this even further, because when you limit supply, something magical happens. The customer starts doing your marketing for you. Take the LaFerrari, 2013, only 499 coupes. Ferrari's first hybrid hypercar, a V12 engine mixed with Formula One style hybrid technology. The kind of car people don't just buy, they chase. And most people couldn't get one even if they had the money. Ferrari selected the buyers. Imagine that. You're a billionaire. You can buy a private jet, a yacht, a mansion, a football team. But Ferrari can still tell you no. And when these cars hit the secondary market, prices exploded. Ferrari didn't directly profit from every resale, but they got something better. Proof. Proof that buying the right Ferrari wasn't spending money. It was storing status. Every resale headline told the world, this thing is so rare, people will pay millions just to skip the line. And now the waiting list becomes part of the product. You're not waiting because Ferrari is slow. You're waiting because Ferrari wants you to wait. The wait is the pain. The pain creates desire. The desire creates the price. And the price protects the myth. Now here's where the internet usually gets this story wrong. People love saying, Ferrari banned this celebrity, Ferrari blacklisted that rapper, Ferrari will never sell to this influencer again. The truth is more complicated. Ferrari is not stopping every celebrity from buying every Ferrari. If someone wants a normal production car, there are usually ways to get one. But special editions? Limited allocations? The cars that define the brand? That's different. Ferrari reserves the right to decide who gets those. And that's the whole point. They don't just care that you can afford the car. They care how you represent the car. Do you flip it immediately for profit? Do you destroy the design with ugly modifications? Do you use it as a cheap flex? Do you make the brand look desperate? Because Ferrari is not trying to be seen with everyone. Ferrari is trying to be seen with the right people. Ferrari's brand is so exclusive that the world finds it believable when they say no to millionaires. That is not normal. That is a luxury superpower. And then Ferrari faced the biggest test of all, the SUV boom. Porsche had the Cayenne, Lamborghini had the Urus, Bentley had the Bentayga, Rolls-Royce had the Cullinan. Every luxury brand realized the same thing. Rich people want fast, expensive family cars. So Ferrari had a choice: build an SUV and risk looking like everyone else, or refuse and leave billions on the table. And Ferrari did the most Ferrari thing possible. They built one, but refused to call it an SUV. The Puro Sangue. 4 doors, 4 seats, more practical than a normal Ferrari, but still a V12, still expensive, still limited. And here's the key: Ferrari capped production. They didn't say, great, this thing is popular, let's flood the market. They said, no, this can never become too common. Because if the Puro Sangue became everywhere, it would stop feeling like Ferrari. That's the difference between Ferrari and a normal company. A normal company protects growth. Ferrari protects desire, even when the easy money is right there. By 2026, Ferrari is not really valued like a normal car company anymore. It is valued more like a luxury house that happens to make machines. And the empire has 3 layers. Layer 1, cars, the core, the dream, the thing everyone understands. Layer 2, racing. Formula One is not just sport, it is Ferrari's global advertising machine. Every race weekend, millions of people see the red car, the horse, the history, the drama. Even when Ferrari loses, people talk about Ferrari. And that matters, because Ferrari's greatest product is not speed, it's attention. Layer 3, the lifestyle. Ferrari stores, Ferrari museums, Ferrari World in Abu Dhabi, owner events, track days, private experiences. A Ferrari owner doesn't just buy the car, they buy access. Access to the brand, access to other owners, access to a world that normal people can only watch from the outside. So what do we actually learn from Ferrari? Most companies think growth means more. More products, more customers, more stores, more inventory, more everything. Ferrari built one of the most valuable car brands on earth by doing the opposite. Less production, more control, fewer customers, higher desire. And that is the lesson. Ferrari doesn't really sell cars. Cars get old. Cars become used. Cars lose value. Ferrari sells something that can get stronger with time. A story, a symbol, a feeling that says, you are not like everyone else. That's why people wait years. That's why they pay more. That's why they beg for cars from a company that acts like it doesn't need them. Because Ferrari understood the rule that most brands never learn. If you want people to chase you, stop chasing them. And that is how you build a luxury empire, by saying no more than you say yes. If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe, because next up, we're going from one of the rarest things on the road to one of the most common things on earth. Something that falls from the sky for free, comes out of your tap almost for nothing, and somehow became a luxury product. Not because people needed it, but because one company convinced the world that ordinary water had an enemy. See you there.